I'll follow your lead.
Wait, we're not live yet?
Not yet, no.
Oh my god. Come on.
Yeah.
All right, now we're live.
Stop.
Now the stream is rolling.
Okay.
All right, you want to get going? Let's go.
Ready to go.
All right.
And when it's time to go, I'll just let you guys go, okay? And I'll shut the door. Okay. All right, we're ready.
All right. Hello and welcome to Season 2, Episode 19 of the Hockey Nuts Podcast. My name's Wayne Halley. I'm here with Steve Ball and several members of his family today.
Yes, we got some people in tonight, Wayne, to say hello and briefly introduce themselves on our podcast. You know, it's the Christmas holidays, so we have family in town to say hello. So I just wanted to introduce my grandsons to you. This is Evan.
Evan, how you doing, Evan?
Good. Go Rangers.
This is my grandson, Aiden.
Aiden, how you doing?
Good.
And this is my niece, Amber.
Amber, how you doing?
Good.
And they
Welcome.
all listen to the podcast.
They
so-
all do. Good. Well, they'll
Yeah.
be able to hear themselves on the next one when it comes out.
Very good. Very good. So thank you, guys. Thank you for being with us. We'll get the podcast together and we'll put it together and you'll get to see it later on.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
See ya.
Love you, Grandpa.
Love you too. Let me shut the door here.
All right. So while he's doing that, let's get things started. We've got quite a bit to talk about this week. It is just after the Christmas holiday. We're recording on Thursday, the 28th of December.
Yep.
So we've had one night of games so far after the Christmas break. And so we actually don't have a whole lot of games to talk about, only because we have that 3-day break, and it's only been 6 days since we last recorded a podcast. So, but we're back on our regular Thursday night schedule, and we'll see if that continues. We always seem to be changing our schedule from week to week. But here we are anyway on our normal night, albeit a little bit later than normal because of some tie-ups we had with both of us. So we've got, some NHL games to talk about. We've got the World Junior Championships to talk about. We've got a bunch of other little interesting stories, and you've got a surprise at the end to show us.
Yes.
One of your Christmas gifts. So let's get things started. First
Let's
and foremost, we talk about the 3 teams that we most hold dear, and that is your Rangers, my Bruins, and, of course, our local Carolina Hurricanes. And I don't know, who do you want to start with this week?
Oh gosh. I think I started with the Rangers last week. So pick it. You know, we can talk about Carolina or
Yeah, let's talk about Carolina a little bit because they are now starting to become the team that we were hoping that they would become.
right.
They had 2 games over the past week, and both were wins. A 4-2 win against Buffalo and a 3-1 win last night against Montreal. Of course, the Buffalo game was just before the break, and then, of course, last night was Montreal just after the break. 2 teams that have had their own struggles so far this season, to say the least, and both games were home games for Carolina, so they're not earth-shattering wins by any means, but now Carolina has strung together 3 wins in a row. And don't look now, but they're 6-2-2 in their last 10, and they are now sitting in that 9th spot in the standings, only 3 points out of a playoff spot with a game in hand on the team just ahead of them. So with that game in hand, they can definitely close the gap. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited for them too. 2 reasons, most importantly. Number one, Carolina, as you know, Wayne, has put in a lot of effort over these last few years, to get a good product on the ice for the fans in this area.
Yep.
And I feel like last year they really succeeded in that endeavor. In fact, really the last 2 years, but especially last year. And it's finally showing up on the ice now. You're finally seeing the hard work and effort that they've done, Ron Francis and Bill Peters and everybody. That's number one. And then number 2 is the young talent that they've got coming up. You know, Sebastian Aho, I'll throw in Alex Nedeljkovic. I'm very impressed with him, and I know he's going to have a slot with the Hurricanes
Yep.
at some point in the future. But they have a lot of talent on that team, young talent that's going to be exciting to watch, and it should be for years to come. I'm just mentioning two players, and there's a slew of other guys.
Yep. Oh, and there's a couple playing in the World Juniors this week. Nikash for the Czech Republic. I watched their game earlier today. He had a pretty good game. He looked really good. And then, of course, for Team Canada, Jake Bean, defenseman for the Canadians. He's off to a pretty good start in the World Juniors. So, yeah, they've got some talent in their system for sure. And,
right.
and I agree with you. Nedeljkovic is probably the guy who's going to take Cam Ward's seat when Cam Ward decides he's done playing. If not sooner than that. He's a good young player. He's of course started. He's a starter for most games for the Charlotte Checkers right now. But he's young. He's an up and comer. And despite his name being not American sounding, he's an American too. So that's even better.
Right. That's right. That's exactly right.
Yep.
And speaks. He does not have an accent. So.
Well, no. Nor would he be an American anyway. But
right.
but yeah, very excited for the Carolina and their team. And as a result, I think their attendance is beginning to climb as well. So so I think we're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel here for Carolina. And the question is whether they can keep up their current pace and get above that playoff line by the end of this season.
Right.
They're only 3 points out now, and they're well within a shot, but they're in a tough division at the same time.
Absolutely.
They've got one team that's directly behind them that is going to cause problems for them, and that's in the Pittsburgh Penguins. But because they're also on the outside looking in, that's not going to continue.
Right. That's correct. Although I would love to see Carolina just wallop up on them all year and really,
Well, they're playing each other.
Really
They're playing each other this week.
Yeah.
Carolina goes up to Pittsburgh, I believe, tomorrow night for a game. So it should be interesting. So yeah, good things all around for the Carolina Hurricanes right now. So let's talk about another team that's having a great time of late, and that's my Bruins.
Yes, they are. Let me tell you, they are playing well. 2
games this week, 1 game just before the break, a 3-1 win against Detroit, and then the game coming out of the break, a 5-1 win against Ottawa last night. And it was pretty much a shellacking as far as I'm concerned. And it's amazing how far Ottawa has fallen in less than a year. I mean, here they're beating the Bruins in the first round last year. And they went on a playoff run last year, talking about how great this team was, and then all of a sudden, a year later, or less than a year later, they're almost at the bottom of the standings. Owners talking about moving the team. I mean, it's ridiculous how far they've fallen, how quickly it has, and they're having attendance issues of their own. For many reasons, and it's crazy. But again, Boston's 2 wins are against 2 teams that are both on the outside looking in and towards the bottom of the Eastern Conference standings. So again, not 2 big earth-shattering wins by any stretch. But at the same time, Boston now has won 5 in a row, and they're 8-1-1 in their last 10. And they're now sitting in the 2nd spot in the Atlantic Division standings, and they're still quite a ways away from Tampa Bay. There's a big gap between Tampa Bay and Boston, but they're sitting in that 2nd spot. So, well into a playoff spot at this point.
Absolutely, yeah.
And
playing very well.
Yep.
In fact, they're ahead of the Rangers now.
Oh yeah, yep.
Wow.
Tuukka's playing well. Hudobin's playing well in net, so both goalies are playing well, and the team's getting scoring from all over the lineup, not just that top line, which is one of the problems they had at the beginning of the year, is why they weren't winning more consistently, is they were essentially a one-line scoring team, so all the opposing teams had to do was shut that one line down, and you could beat them. But now they're getting scoring from 2 lines, probably even 3 lines at this point with all the youth that they've gotten and the confidence that they've built with that youth. So, yeah, all around great time to be a Boston Bruins fan, that's for sure.
Right.
Right.
I'm happy for you, Wayne. They're playing well. A good team.
Yep.
To watch.
How about your Rangers?
Well, I will quickly let you know the results. First, a couple nights before Christmas, we played the Toronto Maple Leafs. It was Saturday the 23rd, and we lost that game 3-2. And I will reserve my rant while I talk about the other game, which was last night, and that was a 1-0 shootout victory for Andrei Pavlik over the Washington Capitals. And I did not get to watch that game. I watched like the first period, and that was it.
Oh, Pavlik was in net for that one. I didn't see the highlights. I saw the score.
Pavlik was in net, played great.
Wow, good.
Pavlik played absolutely great. He was a stone wall and had a great game. So I was very, very finally encouraged. Now, I watched one period, but from all accounts, what they were saying on the Rangers Twitter feed and all kinds of stuff is that Pavlik just played incredible, and of course did not allow a shot in net on the shootout. So that was really good. He got a shutout for the game, and that included Alex Ovechkin having his chance. So, but let's go back real quick, if we could, to the Toronto game.
Sure.
I know you know how this feels. We both love watching CBC and their feed. Those guys are so good, exceptionally good on hockey. It's very interesting and riveting for me to sit in front of the TV and watch, and they could be talking about Rogers hometown hockey in Yellowknife, and I'm going to be all in. I'm very interested, But the other night, Saturday night in Madison Square Garden, I got treated firsthand to watching, if we ever do play them in the playoffs, exactly what that will be like if CBC covers the game, because that game was a NHL Network game, and rather than doing the Rangers, and normally they do the home they home cook it on NHL Network. The home announcing crew gets the game. But that didn't happen this night. CBC guys got the game, and I don't recall the two guys that did the game. But Toronto played very well. They got a lot of breaks. But that third period was just a horribly officiated period. I think there was 4 penalties called on us. I don't think they sat in the penalty box at all in the third period, although I can think of 2 or 3 instances where they should have been called for a penalty. Anyways, the outcome of the game may never have changed, but the problem is not only was the officiating bad, but the CBC announcers, I think, were lifelong Toronto Maple Leafs fans. And when you listen to a game, and you're, it could be that they're playing the Florida Panthers. It really doesn't matter, and they want to win so bad.
Yep.
It's very frustrating to listen to that and then see missed officiating calls, bad plays on the ice, stuff that's missed, whatever. They won the game. If they had put them in the penalty box once or twice in that period, it probably may not have changed the outcome. But it was frustrating to watch that third period when we had the momentum. And I told you about this at the first. There was a breakaway late in the third period. I can't remember who it may have been Nylander who shot the puck. It went off the crossbar. It might not have been him. Went off the crossbar and missed. And the CBC announcer replayed the feed. Check me. He says, "Oh, that had to have went in, didn't it?" I mean, they were literally pulling.
They were hoping the puck went in. Yeah,
that's exactly right. So that's the kind of stuff I'm listening to, and I'm a biased New York Rangers fan myself. But if I was in the booth, I don't know that I would have said that.
Yeah.
Anyways,
well, they are. Of course, it is on Saturday nights. It is NHL Network's schedule, their regular schedule, is to carry the CBC Hockey Night in Canada feed. So that's probably why you got that and not the MSG feed. Because people tune in to NHL Network expecting the CBC Hockey Night in Canada broadcast.
You're right about that, now that I think about it.
But anyway, so the audience that these guys are talking to are obviously Leaf fans, and Toronto probably has the biggest fan base of any team in the league, and most of them are watching that particular broadcast, especially obviously if they're living in Canada. So they probably won't agree with you. But
no, they won't.
I didn't watch that game, so I can't say one way or the other if I felt that they were biased, and I kind of wish I did now, because I could chime in on whether or not it was just your frustration coming through or what.
No, and listen to me when I tell you, Wayne. Listen to me. We waited 54 years to win a Stanley Cup. A lot of those years, I was a youngster all the way on up until we finally won it.
Yep.
So I know a little bit about what they're going through for 50 years not winning the Stanley Cup. And I sympathize with that. They've had some great teams, and they could have won it during that time. So if anything, it's out of my system. I think it was out the next morning. But I'm just saying, beat us. Don't,
But, at the same time, they tend to love their team a little bit too much. Those announcers are definitely Toronto residents for the most part. You may have a few Montreal fans in there as well, but most of those people grew up being Toronto fans. So anyway, but it can be frustrating. I felt the same way last year when Boston played Ottawa in the playoffs. I felt Ottawa got a few too many calls that should have gone the other way, and Boston didn't seem to get the benefit of the doubt on some of those. So, but yeah, it can be frustrating when you're dealing with the out-of-town announcers. That's why if I'm watching a game involving Montreal, I will not watch the Montreal announcers unless, of course, they're getting their butts kicked. And then I love to watch the Montreal announcers because it sounds like they're going to jump off the roof of the arena at the end of the game. So
anyways, I'm happy for Toronto. They're a fun team to watch, and I'm being dead serious. I've turned them on some nights to watch them play, and that was Austin Matthews.
That's right.
Back from his concussion.
Yep. They were celebrating his return too.
That went well. True. He scored a goal, and so I'm happy for him. Yep. But I said what I had to say, and that's it.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So a split week for the Rangers last week, and then 2-0 weeks for both Boston and Carolina. All right. Let's move on. Were there any other games that popped up that jumped out at you? I was actually paying more attention to the World Juniors, really, because the days leading into Christmas break, I was too busy at work. I didn't pay attention to any games other than Boston's games and Carolina's games. That's all I had time for. But as far as since then, of course, the World Junior Championship started the 26th, and I've been watching those. But we'll talk about that a little bit later in the show.
Right.
I did not see any other games last night that really jumped out at me. I did catch both Boston and Carolina's game. I wasn't able to. I had them both on, so I had one on my computer, one up on the TV. So I was kind of watching both at the same time. So that's pretty much all the hockey I got last night.
Right.
All right. So let's move on to some of the transactions then that have happened over the past week or so. I only saw one, and it's actually not a player transaction. General manager Doug Armstrong signed a 4-year contract with a team option for a 5th year that will keep him as the St. Louis Blues GM through the 22-23 NHL season. Armstrong joined the Blues as a vice president of player personnel back in 2008. He was named the 11th general manager in Blues history back on July 1st of 2010, replacing Larry Plow. and is in the final season of a 5-year contract that he signed back in 2013. The Blues are 337, 185, and 56 with him at the helm, and that's the NHL's fourth best record since the 2010-2011 season. They've made the Stanley Cup playoffs every year out of the past 6 years. So congrats to him on getting extended, and I can't say I don't agree. I mean, St. Louis is a very good team, and they don't appear to be slowing down anytime soon.
And they've lost, big-time players. I mean, Kevin Shattenkirk, David Backes, they still continue to do very, very well.
Yeah, well, that's living in a salary cap world nowadays. You're gonna get if you get too good, it's gonna cost you. You're gonna have to get rid of some of those guys, and the better teams. What I'm finding out nowadays in this salary cap era is the better teams year in and year out are the ones that assemble the best boots on the ground kind of guys, the scouts, the guys who help them draft well. Drafting well is essentially the key to success nowadays, at least on a permanent basis. Anyway, I mean, you look at the best teams at the top. You've got Chicago. You've got I could just list a whole bunch of teams that seem to be good year in and year out.
Right.
And it's because they're number one, they're able to keep a small core of really good players together. In the case of like the Chicago Blackhawks. But the teams that seem to never be at the bottom of the standings also do a very good job at replenishing the bottom part of the lineup when the top part end up leaving because of salary cap issues. So that's just the way it is nowadays.
Agreed.
And St. Louis is one of those teams that continues to succeed even though they've had to cut loose a couple of guys because of salary cap.
Right. So,
all right. Let's move on to injuries. We had a bunch, actually, for as little games as we've had. First one I want to talk about is Chris Kreider from your New York Rangers. Yep. He's going to be out indefinitely because of a blood clot in his right arm. He left the Rangers 1-0 shootout victory against the Capitals last night with 22 seconds remaining in the first because of what Coach Alain Vigneault said was an upper body injury. He played 7 shifts, totaling 5:04 of ice time, and had 2 shots on goal. Vigneault said Thursday that Kreider felt swelling in his arm before the game, but was cleared to play after being examined by doctors. After the first period, the swelling had increased, and then Kreider was sent to the hospital where testing discovered the blood clot. In between the first and second, the swelling got to a point where it was out of the ordinary, Vigneault said. So doctors sent him to the hospital to figure it out. Kreider is tied for 4th on the Rangers in scoring with 22 points in 37 games. So that's a big loss for them. That could have turned out a lot worse too.
Yes,
having a blood clot like that.
Right, depending on where it is, yeah, it could be very serious. But I think they say indefinitely. I think we let that go a week and see where he is, because it may go from indefinitely down to day to day, rather than indefinitely to 2 to 4 weeks.
They're probably going to have to put him on some sort of blood thinners. Isn't that what they usually do to treat blood clots?
Boy, I have no idea how they handle that.
Which could create problems, because if he gets cut in a game, then he's got a whole nother issue.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
So, I don't know. We'll have to follow that story and see, because the Rangers are going to need Kreider, and I'm sure he's disappointed for missing the Winter Classic coming up.
Oh yeah,
he'll probably miss that.
Yeah, I don't see how at all it's going to be possible for him to play in that game. So he will, I guarantee you, miss playing in that game.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Winnipeg Jets center Mark Scheifele will miss 6 to 8 weeks with an upper body injury. Scheifele was injured during the second period of the Jets' 4-3 win against the Oilers on Wednesday. He was hit by Oilers defenseman Brandon Davidson and crashed into the boards. Scheifele had 38 points in 38 games, second in the Jets behind right winger Blake Wheeler's 42. He was 7th on the NHL with 82 points in 79 games last season. So that's a huge loss for the Winnipeg Jets.
Absolutely. Yeah. Mark Scheifele's the heart and soul of that team.
Yep.
And that's a major injury. So, and you know, as of late, I've seen Winnipeg, they've been kind of slipping.
Yeah, a little bit.
You know, they're still in the thick of it, but they haven't been playing, you know, top 5 team in the NHL. And that for a while there, they were really lights out.
Yeah, they're 4-4-2 in their last 10. So yeah, they've been kind of up and down over the past week or two. So not having Scheifele around is not going to help that situation
not
at all.
Yeah.
So the cracks are beginning to open there a little bit in Winnipeg, and that's a team too I'd like to see make the playoffs on a regular basis, just because they've got such a great fan base there in Winnipeg.
Right.
So we certainly would like to see them continue to play well. Hopefully they're still very good even without Scheifele. They should still be able to maintain at least a good decent playoff spot for at least for a while, at least until he gets back.
Right.
I would think. So, all right. Another Western Conference injury. Goalie Corey Crawford was placed on injured reserve by the Blackhawks with an undisclosed injury on Wednesday. It's unknown how long Crawford will be out. He's eligible to return on January 3rd. I'm going to say indefinite now until we get him on the ice and no more, Blackhawks coach Joe Quenneville told the Chicago Sun-Times. Crawford is 16-9-2 this season, but was pulled 13-22 into a 4-1 loss at New Jersey on Saturday after allowing 3 goals and 7 shots. He is 4th in the NHL with 2.27 goals against average and 3rd with a .929 save percentage in 28 games. Blackhawks recalled goaltender Jeff Glass from the Rockford of the American Hockey League. Glass is 10-4-1 with a 2.6 goals against average, .917 save percentage in 18 games with Rockford. Glass is expected to back up Anton Forsberg in Crawford's absence. Blackhawks play at Vancouver Thursday night, so that's a big loss for them too.
That is.
And Chicago's been playing well lately too, and this is going to hurt hurt them in their chances of getting back, because right now they're sitting on the outside looking in.
Right. Yeah, they and you know, Crawford has had a pretty decent year. I was surprised when I looked at the numbers that he's 16-9-2. But he's had a pretty good season. And a sneakily quiet good season.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm trying to think. It's Anton Forsberg, isn't it? Their backup.
Yeah.
He has to have some losses then.
Yeah, and I think that has been a big part of the issue there in Chicago, of course, since losing Scott Darling to the Hurricanes. They essentially dumped him, got a draft pick for him, but they probably would have lost him in the expansion draft if they hadn't got rid of him. So that is why they did. And I think not having Darling there to back up Crawford has been it's been a problem for Chicago.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, I agree.
But, yeah, Crawford has got the bulk of their wins. He's got all but one of their wins. Forsberg is 1-4, and he's at .313 and .909 save percentage. So Chicago, the rest of the Chicago Blackhawks are going to have to step up their game in order to make up for Corey Crawford being out. And they may have to ease him back in when he comes back, because Crawford's played way more than he normally does.
Oh, you're right.
Because of the fact that they just don't have as much depth at goalie as they used to. All right, let's talk about the other. I have one other, unless you had any, but the last one I have is Columbus Blue Jackets forward Cam Atkinson will be out 4 to 6 weeks and was placed on injury reserve Tuesday after fracturing his right foot on Saturday. He was struck by a slap shot from teammate Seth Jones in the first period of a 2-1 win against the Flyers. He remained in the game, played 22-26, his fourth highest ice time total of the season. Atkins signed a 7-year, $41.125 million contract on November 17th. He has 13 points in 32 games after leading the Blue Jackets with 35 goals last season, and was a healthy scratch for the game against the Coyotes on December 9th. Columbus is already without defenseman Zach Werenski and Ryan Murray, each day-to-day. Forward Brandon Dubinsky's out for a month with a fractured orbital bone. And forward Alexander Wenberg will be out 4 to 6 weeks with a back injury sustained in a 3-2 shootout loss to the Penguins on December 21st. Wenberg was also placed on injury reserve on Tuesday, and the Blue Jackets recalled forward Tyler Mott and defenseman Dean Kukan from Cleveland in the American Hockey League, and added forwards Jordan Schroeder and Sonny Milano on emergency recall. So, yeah, this is a team that's also showing chinks in their armor. The Blue Jackets aren't playing as well as they had been. 5-3-2 in their last 10. They're still hanging on to that third spot in the Metro, but with that Metro Conference or division being as crowded and as much of a battle as it is, I see Columbus dropping here.
Well, they have been dropping, but they've been dropping and then winning a game, and the teams below them, the Islanders and the Rangers, have been dropping and winning a game. So it's not been a consistent climb by either one of the wild card teams to catch them. Now, maybe, perhaps, and I'm knocking on wood that this doesn't happen, but it could be Carolina's starting amount of change. They'll climb up the ladder. So we'll just have to wait and see. But Columbus hasn't fallen only because the teams below them are performing at relatively the same as they are.
Yeah, Columbus is basically going through a period right now where they're suffering the same problem that Boston did earlier in the year. Is just injuries are killing them right now, and they just need to get their guys back and start getting things. And overall, too, Cam Atkinson really hasn't been playing that well this year. I mean, the fact that he was a healthy scratch earlier in the year, just 2 weeks after signing a nice long contract extension, tells you that the brass there in Columbus haven't been happy with his play of late. Having only, 13 points? Yeah, 13 points in 32 games.
Yeah.
For the amount of money as that guy's making, he's got to put up better numbers than that.
You're right.
So hopefully when he comes back healthy, and he starts putting points on the board again on a regular basis. My fantasy team will thank him for that. All right. Moving on to suspensions and fines, and we've had 2 this week. Ottawa Senators defenseman Fredrik Claesson has been suspended for 2 games without pay for an illegal check to the head of Boston Bruins forward Noel Acciari during NHL game number 558 in Boston on Wednesday, December 27th. That was last night. The NHL Department of Player Safety announced today. The incident occurred at 15:01 of the first period. Claesson was assessed a match penalty for an illegal check to the head. Under the terms of collective bargaining agreement and based on his average annual salary, Claesson will forfeit $6,989. So basically what he does is he elbows or shoulders or whatever you want to call it, Acciari to the head, and then immediately, and I can't remember off the top of my head now which Bruins player went after him, but you know what, these hits, when they happen, they immediately get attacked by another player on the team and get into a fight. So he gets this match penalty for the illegal hit to the head and a fighting major all at the same swoop. And then I think because of the 2 majors right there, I could be wrong, but a second major, you get an automatic game misconduct. So
yeah.
So he ended up out of the game right at this incident. And I'd say the suspension was warranted. It was one of those needless, avoidable hits to the head that they're trying to get out of the game. So just another one in the long list of these head targeted incidents that the NHL is going after quite hard. All right, and the other one I have this week is Arizona Coyotes forward Zach Ronaldo has been suspended for 6 games without pay for punching an unsuspecting opponent, Colorado Avalanche defenseman Samuel Girard, during the NHL game number 554 in Arizona on Saturday, December 23rd. This was announced on Wednesday by the Department of Player Safety. The incident occurred at 8:52 of the second period, and Ronaldo was assessed a match penalty under Rule 46.15 under the terms of the collective bargaining agreement. He'll forfeit $22,580. So we both saw, we didn't see it live, or at least I didn't see it live, but we both saw this incident. And, yeah, Zach Ronaldo is a guy who definitely has a reputation for stupid stuff. He's kind of one of the last of a dying breed of guys that are brought onto teams for, I guess sandpaper really isn't the right word, because there's many guys around the league that provide grit and what they call sandpaper. Ronaldo takes it to the next level. He's going for, he gets in a lot of fights. He does a lot of these. He plays right on the edge of being dirty
I wouldn't call him a hitman like Radko Gudas, but he's a henchman.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
He's a step down from it.
Yep.
But he has an agenda when he goes on the ice. Whether he's paid to do it with his coach's blessing or the brass's management blessing, we don't know that.
Yeah.
But
well, let's just say he's not there to score goals. We'll put it that way.
There you go. I agree with you. Wayne, I love this. Keep going.
And I say this as knowing that Ronaldo did have a stint with the Bruins as recently as last year, I believe. I know he was on the Flyers for a long time, which neither one of us care too much for that team either. But he was a Bruin, and sometimes even when he was wearing a Bruin sweater, he did things that just made me shake my head and say, "What are you doing, dude?" So, and I think the length of this suspension is a testament to the fact that he is a repeat offender. He's kind of known for this kind of stuff, and the NHL is saying, "Look, dude, enough. All right,
yeah.
Either play the game the way we want you to play it, or you're going to take a seat." Yeah. And it's kind of funny when I first saw the article come out about him getting his hearing, and I love how they worded it. They said Zach Ronaldo has been offered an in-person hearing with the NHL. I'm like, oh, he was offered a hearing with the NHL. I think behind the scenes they're like, yeah, the NHL wants to talk to you, bub.
Yeah. Yeah. They probably laid it down to him.
He wasn't offered nothing.
There was a point in the explanation, and I don't know whether that's George Peros that does the announcing on that.
I think he does, yeah.
Yeah. He said, and while we agree with while we understand Zach Ronaldo's point of blah, 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 he obviously went in there and made a pitch for why he did it, and he must have had at least it wasn't half-baked what he said. They took it into consideration.
Yeah.
If you listen to the Department of Player Safety's video, which is what I watched more than once.
Yep.
So, hey.
Well,
he could have been suspended for more than that. He could have been out for 10 games, like Budas.
And he could have. But what I don't agree with is that this was a premeditated. Like he thought of it beforehand and then went out and attacked that player.
Right.
Samuel Girard came in and went after him, kind of.
Right.
And all this happened as spur of the moment, just split second reacting. It was a bang, bang, bang play. It wasn't premeditated in any way. And if it had been premeditated, that's where the additional games would have come in.
I agree.
But you could tell that in Zach Ronaldo's head that as soon as contact was made with Girard, he reacted like he knew he was going to have to fight right then and there and was ready to go. Right. And that's where that punch, that first sucker punch came, I know in his head he thought somebody's going to get after me for what I just did, because he had just hit one of the Colorado players right before all this happened. So Ronaldo hits this Colorado player, and immediately, is in his mind is like, okay, I'm going to get attacked for this, so I'm ready to go. And the first person who touched him, Gerard, he just threw that first punch just to get a leg up on the fight, get an advantage on the fight rather than
break a sweat. Yep.
Rather than wait for both parties to agree, okay, this is it, we're fighting, let's go now. Well, Ronaldo kind of jumped the gun a little bit. Is the way I viewed the whole play.
No, that's right. That's how I saw it.
Yeah, and so that's probably why the suspension wasn't more than it was, is that it did happen kind of spur of the moment and a bang play. So I guess if you are a Zach Ronaldo fan, probably, or which probably is limited to guys he knows personally at this point, but. So yeah, you could make that case that he was just doing what he thought, but everybody knows why he's on the ice. I mean, let's call a spade a spade. Everybody knows why he's there.
Agreed.
So,
and it's exactly I couldn't have said it better if I tried 500 times. When he made the play, and was it Girardi knocked down?
No, it wasn't Girardi knocked down. It was one of the other defensemen.
And I can't remember right now who it was. But as soon as that happened,
was it Johnson?
Might have been Johnson.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure. But I remember you look at him and he almost spins around. I mean, he's like, oh, okay, I know I did that, and I better act like it was intentional. It was that type of a move.
Yep.
And I think the NHL wasn't going to buy anything he said when he walked in there.
Yeah. Well, that was one of those reputation calls, we'll put it that way. And those absolutely exist, by the way. Anybody who's listening that either has played hockey in a beer league or played professionally knows that these reputations follow players around, and guys with reputations are more likely to get penalties down the road than guys that have a reputation for being clean players. It absolutely is true. So there, I said it. So anybody who may be listening that plays in any beer leagues that I referee, yes, I admit it. Guys that have reputations, we watch them a little closer. Let's put it that way. All right. Did you have any other stories you wanted to inject in before we head on to milestones?
No, really, Wayne, the Zach Ronaldo, I spent a lot of time looking at that and reviewing that for tonight, and I think we covered it. And that was really the only one I had anything to talk about in this brief time since we did our last podcast.
Yep. Okay. Well, we've got some. Well, there's really only one honor this week, and that's of course, the NHL puts out their weekly 3 stars of the week. And this week, it's Bruins goaltenders Tuukka Rask, Islanders center Matthew Barzal, and Florida Panthers goaltender James Reimer were named the NHL's 3 stars for the week ending December 24th. Rask started 3 of Boston's 4 games, going 3-0 with a 1.3 goals against average and .954 save percentage, and shutting up all of the Tuukka Rask haters in Boston, by the way, to guide the Bruins to a perfect week. Barzal posted 6 points, including league-high 4 goals in 3 games to power the Islanders to 3 out of a possible 6 standings points. And Reimer stopped 106 of 110 shots, compiling a 3-0 record, 1.3 goals against average, .964 save percentage, and 1 shutout to propel the Panthers to a perfect week. So 3 great weeks from 3 really good players. Barzal is becoming
oh, God.
Man, is he fun to watch.
He is a great player. It's either going to be him or Brock Besser. He's a rookie, right? I'm almost certain. Barzal's a rookie. He's one of the best.
Yep.
He's playing great, and that's the reason the Islanders are are hanging in this.
Yep. There's a group of Boston Bruins fans that exist, and it's a rather large group that do nothing but hate on the Bruins. You swear they're closet Montreal fans because all they do is criticize, the play of this player or that player, the Tuca, get him out of town, da-da-da-da-da. These guys are very quick to point out that Matthew Barzal was picked in the draft behind that trio of players that Boston had. Was it the 2015 draft, I think it was?
It was 2 years ago.
Where they picked three players, 14, 15, 16 in the first round. Well, Barzal was picked after that. So these guys like to point out that Barzal could have been had by the Bruins by any one of those three spots. I'm like, yeah, but you could say that about a lot of players. I mean, all 30 teams passed on Patrice Bergeron twice.
Oh, yeah.
The year he was drafted, because Bergeron was a third round draft pick.
Henrik Lundqvist was a 7th round draft pick of the New York Rangers.
There you go. So
7th round. No one projected him to have the
the bottom line is the hockey draft, unlike the football or basketball draft, which picks players right before they're ready to start playing in the league, the hockey draft, they're picked as soon as the players turn 18 years old. And oftentimes, outside of a handful of guys that can step right in and play right away, and there's literally a handful a year, that's usually about it. Everybody else is years away from being able to play. And you just don't know how they're going to develop and what kind of player they're going to turn into.
Agreed.
It's kind of a crapshoot. I mean, you do your best to guess, and sometimes you get it right, sometimes you get it wrong. And quite honestly, the three that the Bruins chose that year, I know DeBrusk was one of them, and I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, and I should have had this pulled up before then, but the other two are both playing in the American League and are projected to eventually make the Bruins lineup. So I know one's defenseman. Bruins fans are yelling at me right now, and I can't. The other one's a defenseman, the other one's a forward. So anyway, if I had it in front of me, I'd I'd name them off, but I don't have those names right in front of me. But I know they're both playing in Providence and are doing quite well there. So they'll be up soon. But so far, DeBrusk is the leader of that trio anyway, because he's the only one playing in Boston right now. All right, and finally this week in terms of NHL stories, goaltender Johnny Bower, who spent 13 seasons in the minor leagues before putting together a Hockey Hall of Fame career that included helping the Toronto Maple Leafs win the Stanley Cup 4 times in the 1960s, died on Tuesday of pneumonia. He was 93 years old. There's so much to appreciate Johnny Bower's accomplishments on the ice, including the 4 Stanley Cups and membership in the Hockey Hall of Fame. And yet there was so much more to the man who served his sport, his country, and his community with such distinction, NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman said. Johnny Bower enriched us all by sharing the pure joy he felt for the game and he played and for the men who played it, with him and against him. It was a personal privilege to know him, a delight to be in his presence, and an honor to celebrate him as one of the 100 greatest players in NHL history. Bower spent the equivalent of a full career in the minors before becoming a full-time NHL goalie at the age of 34. Before retiring at 45, the China Wall, a nickname that has much to do with his advanced age as it is his goaltending, won 250 games, including 37 by shutout, and had a 2.51 goals against average. He is the greatest athlete in the world. His coach, Punch Imlich, once said of Bower, by wanting to be the best so badly, he overrode the aging process. Born John Kidscan in the wilderness village of Prince Albert, Saskatchewan, Bower grew up poor as the only boy in a family of 9 children. At 15, Bower lied about his age to enlist in Canada's Army and was sent to England in 1940. He was discharged in 1943 with rheumatoid arthritis in his hands, an ailment that would plague him throughout his hockey career, and embarked on a journey through the minor leagues. The NHL at the time was a 16-team league in which full-time backup goaltenders were a rarity, so Bower, he changed his name after turning pro, played with Cleveland of the American Hockey League from 45 to 53. He won the Hap Holmes Award as the HL goalie of the year with the lowest goals against average and was named league MVP 3 times. Bauer signed with the Rangers for the 53-54 season and played every minute of all 70 games, finishing with a 29-31-10 record, a 2.6 goals against average, and 5 shutouts. But he lost his job to rookie Gump Worsley before the 54-55 season and spent almost all of the next 4 years back in the minors, ending up with Cleveland again in 57-58. I was sick of jumping around the country and I wanted to settle down with my family, Bauer would say. Cleveland was going to be my home, but Imlich, the general manager and coach of the Maple Leafs, had other ideas. Imlich visited Bauer during the summer of 58, then drafted him from Cleveland. At age 34, Bauer established himself as Toronto's #1 goaltender, helping the Maple Leafs move from last place in 57-58 to the Stanley Cup final in 59 and 60. In 62, Bauer and the Maple Leafs defeated the Blackhawks for their first championship since 1951. Toronto won the Cup again in 63 and 64. The third championship came a few months before Bauer's 40th birthday. Bauer, who played without a mask for most of his career, became known as the inventor of the poke check. He would aggressively leave the crease and try to poke the puck away from an on-rushing attacker. The move wasn't without risk. During his career, Bauer lost nearly all of his teeth and on one occasion caught a skate to the face, knocking one of his teeth through his cheek. God.
Yeah.
After losing in the semifinals in 65 and 66, the Maple Leafs stumbled onto the 67 Stanley Cup Finals. They had finished third, 19 points behind first place Chicago during the regular season. But Toronto upset the Blackhawks in the thanks to the goaltending duo of Bauer and 37-year-old Terry Sawchuk. The Maple Leafs' opponent in the final was the Canadiens, who were going for their third consecutive Stanley Cup. Bauer replaced Sawchuk after Game 1 loss and shut out Montreal 3-0 in Game 2, then made 52 saves in a 3-2 double overtime win in Game 3. He was injured during warm-ups before Game 4, but he helped Toronto finish a 6-game series victory that gave the Maple Leafs their 4th championship in 6 years, which happens to be their last. Bauer retired in 1970 as the second oldest goaltender to play in the NHL. He was inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame in 1976, but he continued to strap on the pads for a few years after his retirement, serving as practice goalie when one was needed. So, yeah, obviously a beloved figure in Toronto, Johnny Bauer was.
No doubt.
He it seemed like every time Toronto brought back a lot of the legends of the past, he was always there. He was even there when was it the NHL did their big unveiling of the top 100. Was it the All-Star game last year?
I think it was in Los Angeles.
Yeah,
it was.
Yeah, it was during the All-Star game last year where they brought them. He was there for that. So yeah, he made a number of appearances right up until the end. So, yeah, everybody in the hockey world is sad of his passing, but he lived a long life. He lived a great life, and kudos to him for for a much deserved recognition after a life devoted to the game.
Absolutely. I think about him, and I think about Turk Broda.
Yep.
For Toronto, those were two of the best.
Oh, those guys were goaltenders back in those days. Were unbelievable, playing without masks.
Yeah.
And they were fearless too. They would get in front of pucks the way goalies do today.
Yeah.
But they didn't have a mask or helmet or nothing. They played completely uncovered. And a lot of them have the scars to show it too.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So anyway, all right. And a lot of that has to do with, the players' mentality even today to not wear face protection. That goes back to the early days of the game. All right, let's move ahead to the power rankings for this week. And I believe
Yes,
it's
sir.
my turn.
It is your turn this week.
My turn. All right.
It is.
So I got a bit of a jumbling around of the power rankings this week, although it hasn't changed too much from last week. We haven't had that many games. But at number, let's go 16 and up. So number 16, I've got Minnesota. At 15, making their first appearance of the year, Carolina Hurricanes.
Yep.
And before you jump on, as a listener, say, yeah, it's home cooking there. I've got many different arguments showing that they deserve to be there, because I could tell you, a number of reasons why all the teams behind them deserve to be behind them. So,
yeah.
if you want to get into that discussion, you can tweet me. I'm at Wayne Halley 9. We can get into that discussion. But Carolina Hurricanes are now at number 15 in the power rankings. Number 14, the San Jose Sharks. Number 13 is the Islanders. Number 12, I've got the Rangers. Number 11, I've got Toronto. Number 10, I've got Columbus. Number 9, Washington. Number 8, St. Louis. Number 7, Winnipeg. Number 6, I've got the Boston Bruins. And again, I've got many reasons why I can back that up.
Right.
They've got the best record in the league since mid-November, so you could even make an argument to go higher than that. But moving on. Number 5, L.A. Number 4, New Jersey. Number 3, Nashville. Number 2, I've got the Vegas Golden Knights.
Yeah,
Because they continue to win. they just now they're winning on the road. They're not just winning at home. They're winning on the road too.
It defies logic what's happening there.
They won last night against was it Anaheim that they played?
Yeah. Fleury's playing well too,
And Subban was in net last night for that win.
Subban was in net. Okay.
Yep. And then number 1 this week, again, like you said last week, a broken record. And until they prove us otherwise, the Tampa Bay Lightning are going to continue staying in that one spot. So, any arguments with this?
Most of the time, Wayne, and I'm in agreement with you.
Yeah.
And most of these are I spot on. Okay.
Yep. Now this week I have Chicago and Pittsburgh.
I just wouldn't put Vegas at 2.
No.
No, I think Los Angeles is playing better than Vegas is.
Well, here's why I have Vegas at 2. First of all, they have only 9 losses so far this year.
Right.
Only the Tampa Bay Lightning have fewer. Now, there's Nashville and Jersey also have 9 losses, but everybody else has more than that. So that automatically, in my mind, puts them in the top 4. They're second in the league in points so far this season, and they have a game in hand on both Nashville and New Jersey, even though they have more points than them.
All right.
They haven't lost in regulation in their last 10 games. They've won 5 in a row. They're 9-0-1 in the last 10. I mean,
yeah, they're playing very well. And,
yep. So that's why I put them all the way up there.
I hear you. You've made a good argument.
So, yeah. All right. Let's look ahead to the upcoming week. Let's start with the Bruins since they're on fire right now. They have Washington tonight at Washington. Now, this game scares me to death because we talked about it a couple of weeks ago when they played each other. Washington has won 11 games in a row against Boston.
Yeah.
Braden Holtby has played Boston 15 times in his career, has won 13 games out of those 15.
Yeah.
So the track record there is not good. But as I look up right now after 1, it's 2-0 Boston. So
there you go.
Here's hoping that things continue.
Yep.
And Boston's playing very feisty tonight. I've already looked up and seen 2 skirmishes anyway. Of course, what's his name on Washington was involved in, I think, in at least one of them.
Lars Eller?
No. Another defenseman.
Matt Niskanen playing.
I haven't seen his name. I've only glanced up a couple of times so far. But Brooks Orpik.
Oh, okay, Brooks Orpik. Okay.
There's a lot of Bruins that don't like him too much. So, and he got involved in one of the skirmishes already. All right, and as far as the other games this week for Boston, they've got Ottawa on the 30th. They're at New York Islanders on the 2nd, and they're at home against Florida on the 4th. So, yeah, busy week for the Bruins.
Yeah, that's a busy week.
Rangers,
but they should be able to handle a lot of those.
Rangers have a very busy week themselves.
The Rangers, we do. We play at Little Caesars Arena on the 29th, a game I will not miss tomorrow night. For the very first time ever in team history. We play there tomorrow night, the 29th. Then, of course, we have the Winter Classic, January 1st. I think coverage starts at 11:30 or 11 o'clock.
Yep.
Against the Buffalo Sabres. And they're calling Buffalo the home team in that game.
Yes, they are. I noticed that. It's kind of weird.
It is weird because we will not play in the city of Buffalo this year.
At all?
The other two times we play Buffalo is at Madison Square Garden.
Oh, wow.
So we will never play at Buffalo this year, in this hockey season.
Boy, Buffalo fans can't be happy about that one.
How about that? Unless I'm mistaken, I think that's
that makes sense.
Yep.
Because they're not in the same division, so they would only play each other 3 times.
Yep.
Wow.
And finally, we play the Chicago Blackhawks on the 3rd, and that is the Wednesday night rivalry game on NBC Sports Network. So we have 3 very good games to watch if you're a Rangers fan. And I'm hoping we can win all 3 of them. But I'd be happy with 2-1.
And on that Winter Classic game, too, I watched the latest episode of that series that the NHL Network is having that kind of follows certain players around.
Yeah.
They showed Matt Zuccarello and his brother, looks like it's his younger brother, going out into the streets of New York looking for a Christmas tree for their apartment. And Have you seen any of that?
I haven't watched any of it because I don't want to jinx. I really want to. We need those 2 points.
It's kind of a behind-the-scenes look on certain players on both teams. Like this past week, they were following around Ryan O'Reilly in Buffalo and Matt Zuccarello in New York. And, yeah, it was neat. They had Zuccarello and his brother, his kid brother, who's I don't know if he's living with him or if he's just in town visiting for the holidays. But anyway, they were out walking around the streets in New York. And what's funny is people are walking by like they don't even know who he is.
Don't even know who he is. Yep.
He just looked like a normal guy, and they were out buying a Christmas tree. They got themselves a little 4-foot Christmas tree, and the little brother threw it over his shoulder. And they had a little game of rock paper scissors to determine who had to carry the tree, and and they took it back to Zuccarello's apartment and set it up, and they just it's just kind of a peek into the lives of the players involved in such a game. So, and then they showed, I think in previous episodes they showed that kind of a behind the scenes look at the Rangers as they had that outdoor practice there in Central Park.
Yeah, Lasker Rink.
Yeah. So yeah, I like those. The Bruins have a similar series called Behind the B that's been going on for, I think this is a 3rd or 4th season now, and I love watching that stuff because you really get a peek into their personal lives, and you get a sense for what it's like being a pro hockey player. Yeah. And I got to tell you, it's not the glamorous life that one would think it is. Those guys, because of the physical toll that they go through all the time, those guys don't have it easy. I agree. They earn their money. So. Yeah. All right, let's take a look at Carolina's week ahead. They are at Pittsburgh on Friday night, and then it's showing a home game. I think it's a home game against Pittsburgh Friday night. Mm-hmm. At least that's how I've got it written down. Then they're at St. Louis on the 30th, and then they're at home against Washington on the 2nd, and then they're at Pittsburgh on the 4th. So I probably do have that right. So that's a very, very tough schedule coming up for the Carolina Hurricanes.
Extremely tough week.
And with the 2 games against Pittsburgh, if Carolina wants to make a playoff run, they have got to get, at the very least, a split in those 2 games.
I agree.
If not, taking 3 out of 4 points.
Right.
And then beating St. Louis and Washington would definitely be a bonus because both of those teams are playing very well right now. So, tough test for Carolina in the coming week. So, and of course, there are as usual, a number of good games going on around the week. Is the Winter Classic, is that the only game on the schedule that day? Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
It's the only game on the schedule that day, which is kind of nice because all focus of the hockey world will be on that game, which is kind of what the first couple of years of the Winter Classic, they didn't always do that. They always had other games going on that day. But now it looks like, the hockey has taken over that day as, how every sport has their day. Super Bowl is, the first Sunday in February, and the Final Four in college basketball is the first weekend in April, and there's certain weeks, certain days that belong to certain sports. Well, it used to be January 1st belonged to college football, but with the whole bowl playoff and everything they do in that sport now, January 1st isn't the marquee day that it used to be.
That's right.
So hockey saw that gap and took over. So the NBA has Christmas Day, but hockey has January 1 now with the Winter Classic.
That's right.
And one of these years, I'm going to get to one of those. Got to get to one of those one of these years. Just wait for one to come a little closer. I know they announced the next one is in Chicago, and I could potentially go to that one. My sister lives there. So that would be an option for me, but I'd like to see one come down this way. But I think the only likely way that we'll see one down this way is if maybe Nashville hosts one.
Right.
Because until Carolina their fan base starts getting as rabid as Nashville's, I don't see the NHL giving Carolina a Winter Classic. Not that they don't have a venue. There's, a bunch
right across the street.
Yeah,
Carter Finley Stadium.
They could do it right outside, right outside the RBC Center. So they could do that, or PNC Arena. Sorry. So yeah. Anyway, all right. Let's move on to the Minor League Hockey Minute. And let's first talk about mine, which is a World Juniors update.
Okay.
I didn't even look at other minor leagues because I've been so enamored with the World Junior Championship. And as you know, this World Junior Championship tournament is basically the best players under the age of 20 in the world. So if you want to see who the future stars of the NHL are going to be, every guy who's in the NHL now that is considered a star of the game have all played in this tournament. Crosby, Malkin, Ovechkin, Chara, you name it. You name a player, they've all played in this tournament. Right. So this is the tournament to watch if you're into watching future players.
Go way back to Jeremy Roenick.
Yep. Yeah, he even played in it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this tournament. It's only today is its 3rd day, so we're very early in pool play at this point.
Right.
But as of the end of today, because there's one more game tonight. There's 4 games today. 3 are finals already. The 4th one is USA versus Slovakia. That game is going on as we speak. Or actually, yeah. It started at 8 o'clock tonight. So, and it's now 8:30. So at the end of today, all teams will have played 2 of their 4 pool games. And of course, as we talked about last week, there's 2 pools, Group A, Group B. There's 5 teams in each side. 4 out of the 5 advance to the medal round, or the elimination round, whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. At this point, Canada right now is in first place in Group A. USA is technically in second, although they've only played 1 game. They got a huge 9-0 win over Denmark in that game. Finland is 1-1. Slovakia is 0-1, but of course they're playing the Americans tonight. Excuse me, and they got their butts kicked by Canada.
That's Marian Gabrick's team.
Yep.
And of course, Michael Grabner played for Denmark.
Yep. So, and then of course Denmark is right now sitting at 0-2. They've only scored 1 goal, given up 13 so far in this tournament. Over in Group B, Sweden is 2-0, Russia's 1-1, Czech is 1-1, Switzerland is 1-1, and Belarus is now at 0-2. Right now, it looks like Belarus and Denmark are going to be, at least what my eyes tell me anyway, are going to be the two teams that are going to be eliminated.
And play for relegation.
Yeah. Yep.
I think the way that's going to go, too, is a 2 out of 3, right? Best of 3.
Yeah, I'm not sure how the relegation round goes. But, yeah. So, yeah, Team USA is playing right now. And then, of course, they got the quick turnaround tomorrow, which is Friday, the 28th. Is that big outdoor game that Team USA and Canada are going to be playing against each other.
Yeah.
And they're expecting 40,000 fans for that game. The stadium, I believe, seats a little over 70. But they're confirming today that they're expecting at least 40,000 for that game. It's going to be a cold one, though.
Oh, absolutely. There's snow in the seats and everything. I was looking at that.
Yeah, they had both teams had practice today at the stadium, and or was it yesterday? Yesterday, because both teams were off yesterday. They had their practice there, and yeah, snow in the stands, cold. Everybody's all bundled up. It was, good to see, and all the players that were interviewed are very excited for this game. Crazy part is the Americans got to play this game. And then 13 hours later, after the final of this game tonight, they're on the ice again against Canada.
Yeah.
And Canada played earlier today. Actually, no, they played last night. So I think Canada will have a
well-rested team.
Canada will have a very distinct advantage in that game tomorrow for sure. But the Americans are the favorite to win this tournament this year. So anything should be a good game either way.
I agree.
I'll be at work, so I won't get to see the game live, but I've got it programmed on my DVR. I'm going to watch it when I get home.
That's good. I as well will not be able to watch this game live.
Yeah, because it happens 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. If you happen to be home at 3 o'clock Eastern, Friday afternoon, you can watch the game live. Otherwise, you should set your DVR. It'll be worth it. So, and one other note too with the World Juniors, I watched the game with Canada against I'm sorry, U.S. against Denmark the other night. Ended up being a 9-0 win for the U.S. I mean, the game was it's a complete mismatch. This Denmark against the United States. Denmark just doesn't have the talent. But they kept talking about one particular kid on Denmark. And his name is, I don't know if it's pronounced Jacob or Jakob Schmidt-Svestrup for Denmark. Wears number 8. And the NHL Network I don't even know who. NHL Network, I think, is picking up either TSN or one of the Canadian. They're picking up their coverage and replaying it. But anyway, the announcers of this game were talking about him, not only that game against the U.S., but again today, Denmark played, and I had that game on while I was preparing my show notes. They were talking about him again today. So apparently he's their best player. And I found out that he is committed to the University of Maine for next fall.
Wow.
He's playing for the Fargo. Wow. He's playing for the Fargo Force in the USHL right now, and he's leading that league in scoring so far this year. 6'2", 188. He's born in January of 98. I do not believe he's been drafted yet. I could be wrong about that, but can do a quick look up. But yeah, he's committed to the University of Maine. He's looking forward to going to school there, and he said he's hoping to get. He's there on a full ride, of course, and he's hoping to graduate from Maine with a college degree. So he's looking forward to that. He's been here in the U.S. since the age of 14. So he's been playing over here, getting his training over here because he felt that was his best chance of moving up. And, yeah, he has not been drafted as of yet. So he'll be available to be drafted this spring. So it'll be interesting to see where he ends up as far as NHL goes. But he is a good player. I mean, he's playing on a bad team, so it's hard to tell how good he is because he's not putting up any numbers. They've scored 1 goal as a team. But he's playing on their first power play unit, getting a lot of playing time for Denmark. So yeah, you Maine fans out there, if we have any listening, write his name down because he's going to be one of Maine's best players next fall right away. You heard it here first. All right. I think unless you have anything else you want to add about the World Juniors, I've talked enough about it. We're still in pool play, so yeah, we get to the really important games next week.
We will close it out next week on the show. Don't miss it.
All right. So now your pick of the week. Oh, no, minor league hockey minute. Sorry.
My minor league hockey minute, Wayne. And I thought of you. As soon as I saw this article, I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this. But Wayne will probably take this one because he's an official. And so I immediately figured I had to get in touch with you and let you know what I was planning on doing to see if it would work out. And lo and behold, it worked out.
Yep.
It worked out. And when I studied, the show notes earlier, I was like, let's see what his minor league minute is. Oh, my goodness. And so I was in luck, and I said, you know what, I'm going to keep doing this and study on this. My minor league hockey minute deals with an AHL lineman by the name of Judd Ritter. And I promise you, Wayne, I had no clue until we talked before this podcast started that you know him.
I know him.
And that is truly amazing. So you interject and stop me at any point during this article because I'm anxious to hear what you have to say about him.
Well, go ahead and read the article, and I'll explain how I know him when you get done.
Okay. All right. Here we go. The article is entitled "AHL Lineman Judd Ritter of Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, Set to Work Pyeongchang Olympics." By day, he's a lab technician for DSM Nutrition in Belvedere, New Jersey, working 40 hours per week. By night, he's one of the top linesmen working in the AHL. And this February, Judd Ritter of Bethlehem will be able to say he's one of the linesmen working the men's ice hockey tournament at the 2018 Winter Olympics in Pyeongchang, South Korea. Yeah, it's an unbelievable honor, said the 34-year-old Ritter, who is no stranger to high-level international hockey. He worked the IIHF World Hockey Championships in 2018 and 2017, and the World Junior Championships in 2015. Ritter found out he earned the Olympic assignment when Matt Leaf, Director of Officiating Education for USA Hockey, the national governing body for ice hockey, called him in November. There's 2 kinds of phone calls you dream about, Ritter said. One is for the NHL, and the other is for the Olympics. The Olympics is the highest honor you can that is the highest honor you can bestow on an official. I'm still walking on cloud 9. Weeks later, I said that right. 7 U.S. officials are among the 47 on-ice refs who will work the Winter Olympics in Pyeongchang. Judd has put in the time and work over many years to put himself in the position to work at the highest level, Leaf said. He epitomizes the official, and we all should strive to be. Ritter began refereeing youth hockey in 2000 and worked his way up to the AHL for the 2008-2009 season. We are all pleased that Judd joins a list of outstanding AHL officials who have been selected to work internationally this year. AHL President and CEO David Andrews said, "The Olympic Games are the most prestigious of these international sporting events, and it is a testament to Judd's skill and judgment that he has been selected." Ritter works AHL games primarily in Lehigh Valley, that's the Phantoms, in Hershey, that's the Bears, in Wilkes-Barre-Scranton, that's the Penguins farm team, and Binghamton, which is now the New Jersey Devils farm team, in Binghamton, New York. But he has worked in just about every AHL rink and has worked 3 Calder Cup finals. The biggest highlight of his career came in 2016 when Ritter went to Russia for the 2016 IIHF World Championships, where he worked the bronze medal game between Sweden and Denmark in Moscow, and backed up the gold medal game between Russia and the Czech Republic, with Russia featuring Alex Ovechkin. "It was mind-numbing, to be honest with you," Ritter said. The hardest part. You listen to this here, Wayne. Tell me what you think. "The hardest part of being an official is the mental aspect," Ritter explained. "Being focused and being consistent for 60 minutes is difficult. You need to show up mentally every single night and bring that level of professionalism every single night when you're out there. When you're young and starting out, that's easy. It gets harder the more routine things become." Ritter is originally from Belvedere, New Jersey, and grew up playing ice hockey. At one time, he was coached by Bob Firer, who retired from AHL officiating a few years ago. Firer challenged some of those players to try officiating. Ritter did, and stuck with it until he turned serious about it after college. Firer's challenge back at the turn of the century has been answered with Olympic results by Ritter.
Yep.
So that's the pick of the week. Judd Ritter.
I completely missed that story, and I actually knew he was going to the Olympics because I think he mentioned it on Facebook back when he first got that call back several weeks ago that you mentioned. But yeah, here's how I know him. You mentioned that he started refereeing in 2000. He basically started. I can't remember what years it was, but he attended the University of Maine. He was a college student there. And it was while he was at Maine when he was still refereeing youth hockey games. And in fact, by the time he left Maine, he had graduated on to doing some women's college and definitely high school in the area. And, of course, he was still doing some high-level youth games, but yeah, he got a good chunk of his youth hockey experience while he was a student at the University of Maine, and I've refed with him many times while we were both living in that area. So that's how I know him. Haven't had any, I can't say I'm friends with him. We're Facebook friends, but of course, but we know each other. I guess I don't have daily conversations with the guy, but yes, our paths have crossed, I guess was where we'll be. I've refed with him several times in the past when we were both, he was a student at Maine and I was living in that area refereeing.
That's really cool. That's really cool.
So he will be the second referee that I've refed with that has eventually made it on to the Olympics. The first one is a woman by the name of Stacy Livingston. Even before Judd Ritter came along, way back in the mid to late 90s, she was a referee also in the Bangor, Orono area. And she ended up refereeing the gold medal game and I'm still trying to find it. I think it was 98 or 2000. Yeah, 98. She refereed the gold medal game between the U.S. and Canada in the women's ice hockey tournament that year. And I've refed with her many times in the past. Of course, she's older than Judd. She's retired now. She's not in officiating anymore. She's still involved, as from what I understand, she's still involved as a coach or a mentor / coach for upcoming women's officials. But as far as day-to-day officiating, I don't think she does that anymore. She's married, has kids now, and has kind of moved on from the game in that sense. But yeah, she refereed the women's gold medal game in '98. So now Judd Ritter will be the second person who ends up wearing the stripes at the Olympics that I've personally worked with in the past. So yeah, I was very excited when you said you had an article about a referee or an official. Judd's a linesman at that level, although he was reffing back in those days. We were still using what we call the two-man system at the lower levels, where you're both a linesman and a referee. So you don't have 4 officials or even 3 officials at the lower levels. There's only 2, and the 2 officials call both penalties and lines. So yeah, those are the days that I was working with Judd, is at the lower levels. So, and he was identified very early on as someone who has potential. I can attest to that, and they moved him right up through, mentored him right up through, because in that game, in the refereeing game, the younger you get into it, the better. So if you are younger and want to get into refereeing, if you have the skating ability and you are young enough, you can work because it takes, just from conversations I've had with former American Hockey League officials and NHL referees that I've talked to in the past, it takes a long time to work your way up to that level. A lot of games, and generally it's 10 to 15 years before you even get looked at as a potential NHL official. So if you don't get into it young, if someone like me who's 44 years old, those guys are not going to do much to keep up with the speed of the game today. So they're looking for, if you look at the NHL officials these days, they're all in their 30s to maybe mid 40s, and then you start seeing them drop out of the game. They're dropping out a lot younger than they used to. So. And that's just because the skating that's required nowadays is crazy, and you got to be a young guy to do it. So, but at the same time, you need to be very experienced. So yeah, getting in early and moving up the ranks, it's definitely possible. As I've personally seen many people that I personally know that have worked their way up into the professional ranks for sure. And Judd will get his NHL call. I'm sure of it. I've been waiting for it to come, but he will get his call eventually. I see that happening. Probably within the next 2 to 3 years, you're going to see him in the NHL doing lines.
Oh, that's very good.
And he's a big dude, too. I'm not surprised he's a linesman, because they like to pick bigger guys, big, strong guys to do lines, because they're the ones that are wrestling with the fighters. So... So yeah, he could definitely handle the job. So yeah, excellent story.
Thank you, Wayne.
All right, so that moves us on to the College Hockey Minute. Nothing went on last week because everybody was on break, but I did want to talk about how, back to the World Junior Team, Team USA. I don't know if you knew, but there's 23 guys on that roster. 19 of them currently play for an NCAA Division I team.
Yep.
So,
I did not know the number. I knew it was significant.
Yep. And I've got a link to an article that will list all 23 players on the team and which one of them are NCAA and which team they played for. One of which is the University of Maine. I don't know if I mentioned that last week or not, but one of the goalies for Team USA is Jeremy Swayman, who plays for Maine.
I did not know that.
So the first Maine player to make a World Junior team in quite a number of years. So everybody in Maine's excited about that. But anyway, And I've been touting, Americans in particular should go the NCAA route if they're working their way up to the pros, because not only you get to advance your hockey career, it's good hockey for one.
Yeah.
Because there was that belief out there that the best path to the NHL was through the Canadian Hockey League, through the major juniors, and that's not the case anymore.
No, I think it's through.
Well, you could go either way. There's two ways to do it. You either play for Division I college, or you can go through the Canadian junior ranks. But the advantage the college has is not only you get the exposure that
Right.
you would also get in the CHL, but you get an education too.
Right.
So that when your hockey career is done, you've got something else you can fall back on.
Right.
So, and I commend any player who chooses the NCAA route instead of the CHL, especially if they're Canadian. Because Canadians tend to gravitate towards the CHL, and the Americans, for the most part, go through the NCAA. There are some that do decide to go up to Canada to play, but I guess that's their choice. But I always, if I had a son that was playing at that level, I would strongly encourage him to go the NCAA route. Because to get a free education is nothing to sneeze at, especially as expensive as it is now. I could personally attest to that, having one child in college.
I hear you.
All right, and then finally with the NCAA, Boston University and Arizona State are going to be playing a game at Gila River Arena on January 26th. For those of you who are over in the other side of the country and want to attend a game in Phoenix or Phoenix area, you can catch a college game there. So kudos to Arizona State for booking that big arena for that game. And as far as the polls and the rankings and the pairwise and all that, nothing has changed from last week because nobody's played any games, so we won't even talk about that. All right, let's move on to our picks of the week. And I know what yours is, so I'll get mine out of the way because I want to see yours at the end.
You want? Okay.
Yeah, we're saving.
Certainly do that now because it's a short one, Wayne. It won't take long.
We're saving the best for last.
Okay.
All right, mine is about a fan, not an NHL fan, but an American Hockey League fan. I don't know if you saw this video, but Nate Vila scored himself an incredible Christmas present on Friday. The West Springfield, Massachusetts native shot the puck through a narrow hole from the opposite blue line, winning a brand new Mercedes-Benz during the second intermission of an American Hockey League game between the Springfield Thunderbirds and the Bridgeport Sound Tigers. It's incredible, Vila told MassLive.com. I was so speechless I didn't know what to do. I honestly didn't even think I had made it at first, and then I saw everyone go nuts. Vila, who's 22 and lives with his mom and grandma, recently enlisted in the U.S. Army and will report for duty in Fort Benning, Georgia on January 2nd. Pretty much that has been my main focus, Vila said, until tonight. After scoring, Vila was mobbed by the Thunderbirds mascot, and the team sought him out to congratulate him after his 5-4 victory. Merry Christmas to me, he said. It was incredible. I can't believe it. So congrats to Nate Vila, and also thanks to Nate Vila for serving, but congrats to him on winning that car. I saw the video of it, and usually the people that do these contests look like they've never picked up a hockey stick in their lives. Yeah. But this guy, if you watch the video, it's clear that he's played at least some hockey in his life because he shot it like he came out between periods. He took his jersey off from the game, took his gear off, and came out between periods because he looked like he's played the game before.
He wanted that Mercedes.
But the size of that hole in the board, I can tell you, even when he's even if he is an experienced player, that's still not an easy thing to do. Back in my days at UMaine, we used to do that. Late at night, we would go out there. Because Maine had a similar contest back in the day. They had the board that covered the at the time the net, and it had 3 holes in it. 2 on either side of center were much bigger than the one in the middle. And if you shot it into one of the bigger holes, you got like $100 or $200 or whatever. And then if you shot it in the middle hole, right in dead center in the middle of the net, you'd win a car.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
And the time that I was at Maine, I never saw anybody even come close to winning the car, because the hole that's in dead center is about the size of the puck, maybe a quarter of an inch all the way around. So that shot would have to be perfect. The puck would have to be laying flat. If it was wobbling at all, there's no way it would go through. I mean, it's that difficult. So whether or not he's a beer leaguer or not is irrelevant when it comes to a shot like that. But congrats to him anyway on winning a car, and couldn't go to a better guy as far as I'm concerned. He's he's going to be in the Army next week, so
Yeah.
So as far as I'm concerned, he deserves it.
Amen to that. Congratulations, Nate Vila.
All right, now I can't wait to see yours.
You want to see this? Okay, I got to tell you, I had no idea this was coming. My wife's son and his wife and family came down. That was my two grandsons that you met here at the first of the podcast, Evan and Aiden.
Yeah. They
came down, and my grandsons came running up to me the night we opened the presents, and he goes, Grandpa, you have to open yours first. And I was like, what? Why? No, I'll wait because it's a big present, and let's just wait a little bit. No, we will not hand out any more presents until you open your present. You have to open it first. So I was like, well, I'll open my present. And I stripped off the paper, and Wayne, I sat mesmerized, and I'm still sitting here this whole podcast looking at it. But this is what they gave me. And if you're on YouTube, you can see this. It is a figurine, and I'm holding it up right in front of my camera now.
Yep.
A figurine of Henrik Lundqvist. The name of the company that does this, and they have a number of hockey figurines available for this year, and they're actually in China, but the name of the company is Imports Dragon Figures. Imports Dragon Figures, and they have one of the figurines that one of the sections is NHL players, and they maybe have 8 guys that they're doing, and Henrik Lundqvist happens to be one of them. And this stick is removable. I can take it out here. It is. But I put it in for purposes of tonight. It is a collectible. So this thing will grow in value, particularly if he makes the Hall of Fame or something like that happens. This will be worth some money. It sits on a little base here that's a replica ice, and it is a limited edition. So it's only made for 2017. Will not be around next year. It is the entire front and back. It's not something where they do the front and it's not painted on the back.
That thing's really cool.
Oh, really? It's amazing. The box I saved, it has NHL stickers all over it.
It's like a miniature him.
It is. It really is. Even to the beard underneath. If you pick that up and you look very closely underneath the mask.
Can you take the mask off?
No, you can't.
No.
And I'm not going to try real hard there either. But it does have Henrik's 3-day beard, underneath the mask there. So if you see it, there's not too many sports stores that carry something like this, but they found a store up in New York, I think it's in Long Island, where they purchased this for me.
Yep.
And I've been walking around, speaking of Cloud 9, I've been walking around in Cloud 9 for about 4 days now.
That thing's really cool.
On my desk every day, so I'm very thankful for that.
Yep.
And that's my pick of the week.
Sweet. No, it is a nice thing. And is it there a company like McFarlane or something like that makes these 3-dimensional figurines or statues or whatever you want to call them? I don't know if they still make them or not, but it's one of those. But those are bigger than what they used to make.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one there stands a good 8 inches tall. Anyway.
No, that's 12 inches.
12.
It's 12 inches. Yeah.
Wow.
And yeah. So quite. like I said, it was mesmerizing, and I've looked at the details of it and seen the pads, the Bauer pads that he has in the blocker. It's just very well done, down to the details of the strings on the shirt. To everything's well done. The shirt looks really good on him. So I'm going to try and take real good care of that, and who knows, it may be worth a fortune one day. I'm hoping it will be.
Well, yeah. And I said before the show, I said you've got to have that. You've got to put it somewhere where it can be in the background of your video on the podcast somewhere.
Yeah, I got to figure out. I think there's a place over here right behind me.
Put a little shelf up.
Yeah, put a little shelf and move over here a little bit so my shoulders and stick them right back there for people to see. But I've been doing that ever since. I have not stopped talking about it, and I'm going to stop now.
All right.
But it was good, Wayne. Thank you very much to talk about that.
No, that was really cool. I like something like that, where especially as detailed as it is, I'd love to have some of those myself. I don't know if they make any Bruins players or not, but of course it might be a startup, and it may be just starting out with a few players and growing their lineup over time.
Right.
But I'd love to have a Ray Bork or a Bobby Orr or something like that.
They've got a Bruins player. I'm trying to remember who it was because I looked online. If you go online,
it's not just goalies, is it?
No. They have a Ryan McDonough.
Yep.
Ryan McDonough figurine.
Oh, okay.
It's called Imports Dragon Figures. Imports Dragon Figures. If you type that in, www.importsdragonfigures or Google it, you'll get the website. Bring it up and then select the NHL chapter on their website, and you'll get all the players that they have for the 2017 limited editions. I believe there is a Bruins player. I can't remember. Might be Brad Marchand. Might be your boy. You know who I'm talking about, and I can't believe I'm his. No.
Bergeron.
Bergeron. Might be Bergeron that they have.
Yep.
But they have a Bruins player. I know that.
Oh, I see. They don't do just sports. They do like pop culture and.
Yep.
And
Hello Kitty. God, that's like an Asian, just a gold mine.
Anime and that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, cool.
Yeah.
I'll have to look, see what they have for Bruins players.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. I guess that's it for this week. I don't have anything else unless you do.
No, I'm set. I think we had a great one. Thank you so much for letting me bring my my family on the podcast tonight, Wayne. I really appreciate that so much. Thank you so much. Yeah.
No problem. Enjoyed meeting them. Oh, I see Tuukka Rask. There, I looked it up. Tuukka Rask is on there. Yep.
I knew they had a Bruins player.
Yep. But they got Austin Matthews, Sidney Crosby, Connor McDavid, Patrick Kane, and Carey Price.
Yeah, Carey Price is
those
really
are the only ones I see so far. So
yeah.
So hopefully this is an up and coming company that will start putting them out on a regular basis.
Let me tell you, it's quality stuff. When we get together for lunch one of these days, I'm gonna bring it with me so you can see it. You'll be really amazed.
For sure.
I don't know what kind of material it's made out of, but it's sturdy stuff.
It's probably like a resin of some kind. Yeah.
Yeah.
Similar to what those trophies that you can get are. But yeah, it's pretty cool. All right, so I guess that's it for this week then. We'll go ahead and wrap it up.
That's it.
And I've got a game to watch. We're now 2-2. Washington just tied it up.
Oh, no.
Yep. So
I feel like I better get off this Skype here and let you watch the game so I don't jinx it.
Yeah, right.
We just left Washington last night and won it in a shootout. And man, I'm telling you, them guys probably made like bandits to get on the plane and get out of there.
I'm sure. Well, they didn't have that far to go. They're back home tonight in their home rink. So, But yeah, Bruins also had a game last night, so neither team has that advantage of having an extra day off. But right now it could go either way. So, I guess we'll go ahead and wrap it up so I can go watch the rest of that game.
There you go.
And as far as next broadcast or podcast, I can't tell you exactly when it's going to be. We're going to tentatively schedule it for next Thursday, but we don't know for sure because I have got to check our work schedules and make sure that everything lines up correctly. But we will definitely have one right after the new year, which means we should have. I don't know if the World Juniors will be done by then, but they'll certainly be deep in the medal rounds by then. And then, of course, we'll have updates to all the standings, and college will be going again, and we'll have all kinds of hockey to talk about next week.
Winter Classic, January 5th.
Winter Classic. Yep.
January 5th is the last game for the World Juniors. That's the gold medal night. So.
Okay. All right. So we may be going into the gold medal night if we do it next Thursday.
All right.
So we'll at least know who the final two teams are anyway if we do it next Thursday. So, all right. So let's go ahead and wrap it up then. And until next week, we will see you then. Have a good night, Steve.
You too. Good night, Wayne.
Damn.
Yeah.
This cough that I can't get rid of.
Yeah. Yeah. I just got rid of one of those myself not too long ago. And it was a terrible one. I had it for a month.
Yeah.
But I fought it off and I got rid of it.
Yeah, I think I caught it from a coworker. I was fighting it all Christmas week.
Oh, yeah.
Working those 2 overnights didn't help either.
Oh, God, yeah, I can imagine. Back to back?
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah, the 22nd into the 23rd, and then the 23rd into the 24th. But I could tell you I would rather be there at night those days than being in the store, because during the holiday weeks and snow scares, anywhere where people feel rushed, the customers just get so nasty. They get nasty.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they're temperamental, they're fussy, you can't please them. It's just, it wears on you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's a tough time of year, let me tell you.
It's just, yeah.
My boss had a bad day the other day. Well, Mike. And,
oh, did he?
So, fortunately, everything's okay.